In this no-nonsense video, I'm going to show you exactly how to let go of core limiting beliefs in a matter of minutes, permanently transcending the pattern of self-sabotage that you're facing. This is no joke. This is something called the Sovereign Mind Method, and you'll get to watch a live demonstration of two lucky participants overcoming their core limiting beliefs.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You'll even get to see my own mother overcome her limiting beliefs.
We can finish this
It's
tomorrow, son.
Great point, Mom. This is a long presentation. You can start today and finish tomorrow. So set your intention to learn something useful and pay close attention. You get to learn how the magic works and then watch it happen. Aho. Shout out to Nancy Hinojo of Route 7 Coaching for sponsoring this event. And if you'd like to help your community thrive without self-sabotage, consider sponsoring a Sovereign Mind workshop.
Yes, so my group's called The Unstoppable Mind. It started off as ADHD from kryptonite to superpower. And I feel like with ADHD, there's an underlying feeling of, I'm not enough or I'm not doing enough, my productivity is not enough, how I show up in the world's not enough. However, what we're doing today, I feel like goes an even extra layer because there's not enough amount of like coaching or productivity tools. And, you can work with all of that, but if your underlying core belief is rooted somewhere in your person that I, as a human being, that I'm not enough, all of that, all of those things that you set in place to work for you won't be sustainable. And that's when we run into self-sabotage. It's like, wow, I'm doing all the things. Why is this not working? So through my own experience of doing the coaching, doing the habit change, and, going through the affirmations, the unwiring of other thought patterns, those will only get you kind of surface level results. And so with the realization that belief work goes way past and deeper into who we are, I'm just really excited to have the experience myself a couple of times already with Nick. And I just am really grateful to be able to share this with y'all.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm really excited to share this, and it makes perfect sense. Like we're given a narrative that there's a lot of different things outside of ourselves that we can do differently to feel differently. But for better or for worse, how we feel actually has very little to do with what we're doing. It has everything to do with our state of being, which is why when we focus on shifting and clearing out toxic beliefs, it creates a fundamental course correction shift in our state of being. And so Steve Hardison says it's all about your being. Who are you being? If you're in a state of not enoughness, and not enough is the story that's tied to your being, well, what I experienced when that story was running my life, along with not good enough, not worthy, I don't deserve love, I can't trust myself, I'm a loser, I'm a failure, I'm a piece of shit. When I had all of those stories tied to my sense of I am, I experienced a lot of what could be labeled as self-sabotage. And so that's what we're going to get into today. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen in this presentation, which brings us to thriving without self-sabotage. So I've kind of skipped ahead a little bit and shared a little bit of my story, but we'll go through a little bit of structure and format first. The first hour of this is going to be running through this presentation. We're going to talk about who fundamentally can benefit from the capacity to let go of limiting beliefs. What is the Sovereign Mind Method? We're going to dive into some philosophy, core philosophy of what are limiting beliefs. And I'll walk you through the 4 steps in the method to transcend them. And by the way, I choose the word transcend very carefully and intentionally. Transcend does not just mean rise above. It also means to end the trance of. So we are literally ending a trance when we step out of a story called I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. we're going to go through some group exercises, and these are always voluntary. They're really fun and useful, so I do recommend trying them with us. Exercises that'll allow us to discover what our core limiting beliefs actually are. And then the real meat and potatoes, the fun part, is we get to watch this work live in action. I'll invite some volunteers up on the stage and we'll clear out some core limiting beliefs in real time together, God willing. So the fundamental question of like, who benefits from being able to let go of beliefs, it's so foundational to our experience. The true answer is anyone who desires to be free. Anyone who desires to experience true love. Anyone who wants to feel fulfillment. That's who benefits. But we might as well focus on solving some kind of specific problem or challenge, right? So if you're limiting yourself through sabotaging emotions, fear of failure, fear of rejection, lacking a sense of genuine self-embodied confidence, you're facing trust issues with yourself, with others, going in downward negative shame spirals, having angry outbursts towards other people, you're experiencing sabotaging thoughts like, I can't do this. One of the most powerful, I am not enough, or I'm not worthy. Those two tend to go hand in hand. Is there a sense of I can't change? Stories about change itself. Life is hard. There's something wrong with me. Very, very common belief. And what it really boils down to when people are thinking about self-sabotage are the specific behaviors. And you know, whatever that looks like for you. It's different from person to person. It's always a personal journey. But for others, it looks like procrastination, relationship dysfunction, addictions, hurting other people, lying, so on and so forth. All of this, I'll make the argument today, stems from what we believe, core beliefs. And so the question becomes, who am I? Why am I talking about this? Part of my story is that I experienced endless torrents of verbal and psychological abuse in childhood. I had a father who I have deep love for and deep respect for today. He's changed himself a lot. He was a model that change is possible for me. But once upon a time, he was struggling with some repressed emotion and taking it out on his family. And so I took on some stories. I took on a sense of not being good enough, of not being worthy, and of feeling like I don't deserve love. And those stories drove my life for 2 decades, because my coping strategy for that is I'm going to be the smart one. I'm going to be the one that's good at doing everything, and I'm going to get good grades and make a good career and be successful, blah, blah, blah. It didn't matter at the end of the day. I reached a point of burnout at the pinnacle of my sales and entrepreneurship because I still felt not good enough. And I realized, holy shit, I can make 6 figures. I can have a hot girlfriend. I can do all of these things and still feel not worthy and still feel depressed and still feel anxious and still feel miserable. I'm actually never, ever, 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 ever going to achieve my way out of feeling not worthy and not good enough. What do I want to do about it? I got obsessed. I got obsessed with finding out a solution, how to let go of that felt sense, that story that I wasn't good enough. And I created a self-facilitated method that allows people to let go of these beliefs forever. And so Sovereign Mind is the business, the corporate thing that I do that through. We help high achievers and we help entrepreneurs transcend their self-limitation. We specialize in limiting beliefs, and we do that through the Sovereign Mind method. What I care about a lot more foundationally than making money is illuminating the possibility that this foundational level of suffering can actually end and is actually simple and easy. So let's talk about that. That's my sole focus today. And principle number 0, this is the core principle that if you don't walk away with anything else, I hope you get this. Beliefs don't just make logical sense. If they did, we would just tell ourselves that we're good enough and then believe it forever, and it wouldn't be a problem ever again. Here's the deal. Your beliefs also make visual and emotional sense to you. They shape how you perceive reality. And that's why we say seeing is believing. They also cause and are anchored to emotions and sensations inside of your body. They make emotional sense to you. And so we'll explore those other ways in which you can clear beliefs beyond just logic. But this is what the core method fundamentally looks like. It's 4 steps. First and foremost, what's the actual name of the game that we're trying to play? Is it I'm not enough? Is it I'm not worthy? Different people have completely different belief systems. Your belief system is as unique as your thumbprint. And so we have to discover what the core wound and what the core belief actually is. Then we can process it logically. Sometimes that's helpful. Other times you've already done 10, 20 years of personal growth and development, and you don't need to process it logically. That's when we get to the real meat and potatoes of processing the belief visually, processing it emotionally. When a belief doesn't make logical, visual, or emotional sense, it doesn't make any sense. It's nonsense, and you're free from it forever. That's the core of how it works. I've seen this method work 643 times across 219 people. I've been doing this for just 1 year. And this is born out of synthesizing wisdom from thousands of hours of research and practice. And the last thing that you should know about me is that I'm a truth seeker, I'm a freedom lover, and I'm always growing. And for that matter, I'm just getting started. So I hope you enjoy this presentation. And it's like, okay, prove it. Sounds great. And I say, okay, great. Go to my website, go to the success stories page. I'll read a couple of these. There's tons of videos. Nancy's actually on there, which is great. Here's one. When I approached Gradius, I was struggling with stress and overwhelm in my business. I knew I needed to build a team, but I could not will myself to do it. And I didn't understand why. Turns out there were some stories underneath the hood, like I have to do it all alone. I'm not smart enough. I can't do this. And after that session, I was able to immediately take action and hire help for my business. Go Linda. It's simple. Ryan Black. I was suffering from severe writer's block and a negative spiral of self-doubt. Our first intro call, he identified my major limiting beliefs. I've done a ton of different forms of therapy. Nothing I've ever tried took such a short amount of time to get results. This is because when you focus on beliefs, that's the most causal layer. Everything else clicks into place. After the first Sovereign Mind session, I was immediately motivated to write 40 new pages of a key lead generation tool for my business. I immediately closed a high ticket deal, and that paid back the investment with Gladius. So let's move forward into the actual meat and potatoes, the actual philosophy and foundations to understand this stuff. So this image came to me literally this morning, and I was scrambling before this presentation to add this slide. What we're calling categorically as self-sabotage is ultimately just a judgment and just a label. Self-sabotage fundamentally doesn't exist. What really does exist are specific behaviors, specific impulses that we experience to grab the bottle and drink, to raise our voice and yell, to do whatever. Those behaviors and those impulses, those rest upon emotions and thoughts. And those emotions and thoughts are actual, real, true experience. This is what exists: behaviors, impulses, emotions, and thoughts. This is our discovery window into the subconscious mind, whereby we can figure out what we actually believe at the core that's causing what we're judging and labeling as self-sabotage. So again, the core belief is the causal origin of the thoughts, of the emotions, of the impulses, and at the end of the day, the behaviors. And so that begs the question, what are beliefs? Glad you asked. Well, we're going to compare modern wisdom to an ancient civilization from Central America known as the Toltecs and see if we can make better sense of what beliefs are. In the modern story, life is a simulation a Nobel Peace Prize or Nobel Prize of some sort was just awarded to a group of scientists that discovered that the universe is locally non-real and we're in a simulation. And it's all fun and games to think that. But beliefs are ultimately programs in our mind that control our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. And human beings, we self-program to make sure that in the environment that we're growing up in, that our core needs for love, for safety, and for identity are being met. And so there's no right or wrong when it comes to beliefs. They're just strategies to make sure that we're meeting our needs. And sometimes we have trauma in our environment that causes us to create stories like I'm not enough and I'm not worthy. It suits us for a chapter in life, and then we outgrow it. And at that point, those programs are now operating like viruses, and they're draining resources 24/7. They're what cause fear, anxiety, shame, and anger. And so the Toltecs, again, this ancient civilization, they actually had psychological technology to control their beliefs at will. The highest order of their priest class did. And so they came to the realization that life is just a dream. You have your own dream in which you tell different stories and you make agreements with other people and other beings in society and your parents, the civilization you grew up in. And these stories and these agreements shape, they color how we think, how we see, and how we feel. And from the moment that we're born, we begin making these agreements that that's what the color blue is. That's what a cat is. That's what language is. And agreement after agreement stacks on top of each other. Some of the agreements that we make are with ourselves about who we are. And if we're not careful, we can internalize some stories that are lies. And all lies require energy to maintain. And so those lies sap our willpower 24/7, cutting us off from being able to experience the truth and the love that's all around us. So when we blend the modern sense and the ancient sense of what beliefs are, we can start to create a useful definition. And I think the most apt metaphor for what are beliefs is like a pair of glasses. A belief is the subjective lens through which you perceive objective reality. Note that the lens is not the same thing as objective reality. Hard for some of us to grasp, especially when we're first learning. You can think of a belief as a program in the psyche that generates specific and repeated thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. And this is why we have the experience of going through multiple chapters in life, experiencing the same trauma, the same pattern over and over and over until something happens in our reality that causes us to shift what we believe. We stop seeing things that way, and suddenly we enter a different reality, a different story. And this is the most complex, but I think the most accurate definition that I've ever seen for a belief. I think of beliefs as a psychosomatic experiential construct. Psycho meaning of the mind, somatic meaning of the body. So our beliefs live in both our mind and our physical body. It's an experiential construct because our beliefs are created through our experiences, and they manifest the exact same pattern of experiences happening again and again and again. And beliefs create and they reinforce a specific narrative perception of reality. So, with that understanding in mind, I'll emphasize again that beliefs are the root cause. And so I like to use the metaphor of a tree. Someone says, oh, at my job, I feel a little nervous asking for a raise. I don't feel comfortable. And it's like, why? Well, I might get rejected. Okay. Why does that matter? Well, it's because rejection is scary and dangerous. Why does that matter? Well, if I get rejected, it means people don't like me. Why does that matter? Well, if they don't like me, I'm not good enough. Oh, okay. We got all the way down to the causal root, baby. The root of that whole paradigm is I'm not good enough. So this presentation emphasizes self-sabotage, but really we're talking about core beliefs moving forward. So the question becomes, how are beliefs created? We'll take a look at this. This is an image that's very familiar, whether we're little boys or little girls once upon a time, looking at father's stern face in a difficult moment. And so this little girl sees this image and she knows what this experience means. She's feeling tension, fear, shame inside of her body while she's seeing her father's stern face and hearing his words of reprimation. That's a word, reprimanding. And in that moment, she draws a conclusion from this experience that this combined multi-sensory experience means that I am not enough. And so it's this experiential soup of the thought, the image of what we're seeing, the emotions, the sensations, all coming together into this experiential construct that roots into the mind and the body, the story, the sense that I'm not enough. And so that belief becomes tied to the image of father's stern eyes. It becomes tied to the emotions of fear and sadness, and it becomes tied to the tension and the heat that's stored in the nervous system. That's how beliefs get created. And so once again, the core origin principle, beliefs do not just make logical sense. They make visual and emotional sense. They're tied to the specific images and memories that we carry in our mind that are associated to the belief, and they're tied to the specific emotions and sensations that we were feeling at the time in our bodies somatically. So let's walk through the 4-step method, the sovereign mind method, to transcend these beliefs. And along the way, I'll be illuminating core principles, and I'll be sharing with you magic questions that you can ask. And I highly encourage that you take notes during this presentation and make an effort to pay very close attention and remember the principles and the magic questions, because you actually literally have the ability to do this on your own if you choose. So once again, if you focus on a surface level belief, you're largely wasting your time. You can let go of it's scary to ask for a raise, but that's not going to help you in 1,000 different areas of your life. If you let go of I'm not enough, that's going to help you in 1,000 different areas of your life. The experiential shift that you benefit when you let go of a core belief is orders of magnitude more effective and meaningful. So the first step of the process is discovering what's the core belief that's underneath your patterns. So we'll illuminate a few ways to do that later in the presentation. First, we're going to talk about how to process beliefs logically, how to process them visually, and how to process them emotionally. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll go through some exercises to discover core beliefs. So part 1, logical sense. You remember Linus, right? From the Peanuts, always walking around with a security blanket. Well, the child always wants to hold on to their security blanket. You remember Linus walking around, keeping it with him everywhere he goes. And what's interesting is that 30 years later, the inner child still wants to hold on to their security blanket, even if it smells like shit 3 decades later. So think of the security blanket as the belief. I'm not enough. Why in the world am I still carrying this thing around? Well, here's the core principle. Parts of our being, the inner child, the inner teenager, the inner critic, et cetera, these parts of our psyche hold on to beliefs that they're convinced are the only way to meet our core needs for safety, for identity, for love, for comfort, for you name it. So that old broken off part of the psyche actually does have a logical reason that it's holding on to that old story. Even if your conscious mind thinks, oh, that's dumb. There's no reason I'd ever want to believe that. I'm totally ready to let this go. Subconsciously, there might still be a part of you holding on. And so here's the first magic question. Is any part of me, not ready to let this go for any reason? And if so, why? This is where the logical sense component really comes into play. It's not your conscious mind, it's your subconscious mind that's holding on to it. And your subconscious mind has a valid reason. If the answer to this question is no, there is a part of me, there's no part of me that's not ready. I'm totally ready to move on. I'm ready to let this go. Then you can move on to the visual sense step. Fantastic. Have fun. But if the answer is yes, yeah, there's a little boy in there that's like totally scared to let this go, which is very common, happens about 30% of the time. Welcome that part of you into a conversation with curiosity and with compassion, and seek to understand it. Your end goal at this phase of the process is to just help that part of you see that it actually really truly is safe now that you're an adult to let it go. And do this before you move forward onto the more advanced other sensory processes. So I'll give you a quick framework for handling these subconscious parts. I have videos on YouTube, blogs about this that handle this in more detail. Here's the core framework. First, understand what are the core needs that this part of you is trying to have met. You engage in a dialogue with it. You say, why is it important that we need to hold on to this? And it says, it makes us safe. Or I've held on to this for 20 years. It creates a sense of identity. This is who we are. Or if we let this go, we have to take on so much responsibility. Like that doesn't feel comfortable. And you thank it for sharing that awareness with you. So then you illustrate how today, in truth, you don't need this belief in order to meet those needs anymore. There's other ways that you can keep yourself safe. There's other ways that you can create a healthy sense of identity. And you illustrate how you're capable of doing that based on your actual lived experience. And when that part of you fully understands and is updated to the present moment reality that, oh, this is obsolete. We actually don't need this belief as a strategy to feel safe anymore. We have a house that has locks and doors, like mom and dad do not live with us anymore. Oh, okay. Then you ask, all right, part, are you open to letting this belief go? And once you have its agreement and buy-in, then you can actually process the belief visually and emotionally and let it go forever. The reason why I inserted this part of the process, no pun intended, first is because right at the 1 yard line, if there's a part of you that wants to hold on to the belief, it's not going to let go for any reason until you talk to it. It will sabotage your effort to let it go. So this is why we do this first. So every part of you is ready to let go of the belief. You're 100% all in, consciously and subconsciously. Now you're about to learn a really, really powerful tool of how to process beliefs visually. And if you're a visual mind, this is quite possibly all that you'll need to do in order to let go of most of the beliefs in your belief system. So once upon a time, almost all of us believed in Santa. We had a belief. It was called Santa is real. And we knew that because we could see Santa with our own 2 eyes. Except for at some point along the line, we realized that what we're looking at is actually not, in fact, Santa Claus, a mythical being that flies into a billion houses all around the world and drops $100 billion worth of philanthropic goods off in people's houses once a year. We realized that we saw a fat dude in a costume. And so the principle is the child stops believing lies when they see the truth. This sense, this belief that Santa is real actually literally translates into fat white dude in costume. And when the child no longer sees Santa, but instead sees fat white dude in costume, the belief in Santa disappears forever and never, ever, 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 ever comes back. So this is why when people say, oh my gosh, are you sure that it's gone? Are you sure that it's going to stay gone? It's like, do you remember when you were 18 years old, suddenly believing in Santa again? No, that didn't happen. So take a look at these other images. These are experiences that are difficult, that are traumatic, that people have, that cause people to form beliefs about themselves. Beliefs like nobody likes me. Beliefs like I'm not smart enough. Beliefs like I'm not enough. The world is dangerous. I am a disappointment. But when you look really, really, really closely at this image, what do you see? Do you see nobody likes me or 3 kids pointing and laughing? I'm dead ass. What do you see? One is a story that isn't actually in the picture. One's an interpretation. One is meaning that's created and made up and then projected onto the image. And the other is what is actually for real happening in truth. The question is, what do you see? I'm not smart enough, or the red letter F on a piece of paper. Intentionally long pause. Last one. What do you see? When you look back in your memory and see an image like this, do you see with your own 2 eyes, I am not enough? Or Father's stern eyes and face? Here's the principle. Meaning is created in the mind and then projected onto true experience. Nobody in human history has ever seen that they're not good enough. They saw stuff happening and they saw people behaving. They created the meaning that this experience means I'm not good enough. And they projected it onto that experience. From that moment forward, that's how they thought they saw things. So the meaning that we create is never out there in the world to be seen. You created it and you can discreate it. That's your power. And so here's the second magic question. Have I ever actually seen this belief with my own 2 eyes? And you could substitute this belief with, there's something wrong with me. You can substitute that with, I can't trust women. You can substitute that with, I am not safe. Look back through all the memories that are tied to that belief. Try to find it. It's fundamentally impossible to find it. And that's the point. You're literally stripping away the meaning and the interpretation from the raw experience. And when you strip away the meaning, the experience loses its power over you. And be honest with yourself in this process about what you actually literally did see. And I'm willing to bet $100 trillion, 1,000 times over, that every single time you saw people behaving and stuff happening. That's what you literally saw with your own 2 eyes, and everything else is a made-up interpretation that's projected onto the experience. So when you let go of the interpretation and you see the truth, the exact same phenomenon of no longer seeing Santa occurs. And that's why you stop believing it at the visual level in your mind. And once you learn this as a skill, you can run that process very quickly. But many, many, many people, myself included, reach that conclusion. Holy shit, I never saw it. That's all great and well and good, but I felt it. So I know I didn't see I wasn't good enough, but I felt not good enough. Like, for sure. I definitely felt not good enough. I have a surprise for you. You see this kid? This kid is having an emotional experience. And in his reality, it feels like it's all over. Except for what's actually happening is that that kid feels sad. And when the child feels sad, It doesn't mean that the fucking planet is exploding into a nebulous mass. When the child feels sad, it does not mean it's all over. And for that matter, when a child feels sad, it doesn't mean I'm not worthy, and it doesn't mean I'm not good enough. Maybe, just maybe, when a child feels sad, it means they feel sad. So I'll illustrate this in a deeper way now. The third magic question is this: what emotions or sensations are actually tied to this belief? When you say you feel not good enough, what do you actually mean? So you allow the subconscious mind to summon, to bring forth the emotions and the sensations that are tied to that belief, and you experience them fully. And when you ask yourself this question, that'll automatically invoke the feelings and the sensations. And then, for example, what might come up is something like, well, I'm not good enough. That really feels like shame in my stomach. That really feels like tension in my throat. That really feels like fear in my chest. That's what not good enough feels like to me. And I go, oh, perfect. So let's look at the difference between the left and the right image here. The person on the right is living in an illusion. They think they feel not good enough. That's not a feeling. That's an English sentence. English sentences are not in your body. What's actually fucking happening 100% of the time is you feel feelings and sensations. And so on the left, we see what is actually for real occurring. When the person on the right says, I feel not good enough, what they actually mean is they're having the experience on the left. And in their reality, that those feelings and those sensations are fused together with the story, with the narrative, with the interpretation. I'm not good enough. So it's illusion versus truth. They don't feel not good enough. They feel emotions and sensations. And so the question becomes, how do you step out of the illusion? How do you separate the emotions and the sensations from the belief? Well, to belabor the point a little bit more, is she feeling not good enough, or is she feeling tension, fear, and shame? Which one? She's feeling tension, fear, and shame. Then the question becomes, does feeling tension, fear, and shame actually for real mean I'm not good enough? And the answer is no. That is not what that means. When you feel tension, fear, and shame, it means that you feel tension, fear, and shame. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough. And asking these types of questions is how you separate the emotion from the story, from the sentence. So the question that you ask after you've identified what the emotions and sensations are, again, it's fear, it's shame, it's tension. The question becomes, does this fear truly mean I'm not good enough? You place your attention on the sensation, and then you ask this question: does this tension, does this fear, does this etc. truly mean the belief? The answer in truth is no 100% of the time, because having a sensation in your body means that there's a sensation in your body. That's it. So the process is about isolating each sensation one at a time, asking yourself this magic question, and then done properly, you'll actually feel the emotion disconnect from the thought. And in that moment, you're free. So again, here's what that looks like in practice and during the live demonstration. Hopefully this will click more into place for you. This woman is feeling fear in her chest. Does this fear mean I'm not good enough? No. Are you sure? Yes. Oh, okay. Thank God. Holy shit. Feeling fear in my body doesn't mean that I'm not good enough. Oh, illusion shattered. That emotional energy is the last fucking remnant that is keeping that illusion inside of your consciousness. That's why this is the most important component. So look at these emotions. Oh, we have so many. We have happiness, we have sadness, we have contempt, we have pride. So many lovely emotions. Emotion is literally just a concentration of energy that your nervous system detects. Emotion is just energy in motion. Experiencing emotion does not make you unworthy, not good enough, not important, not capable. Those are thoughts. Feelings are feelings. Thoughts are thoughts. Feelings are not thoughts. They're different. And when you separate the two, that's when the thought loses the emotional power of the feeling. So here's my attempt to capture this in words. Principle number 3. The belief loses emotional power when you decide your emotions no longer mean it. The way you do that is to access the emotional energy that's fueling the belief and then make the decision that that energy does not mean that belief anymore. You do that through declaration, or you do that through asking those magic questions. Thoughts are thoughts. Feelings are feelings. Feelings are not thoughts. This is the Aristotelian law of identity. So, cool. I guess I left that in there for emphasis. Boom. All right. That's the sovereign mind method in a nutshell. It's a process by which you process the belief logically, visually, and then emotionally. And when the belief doesn't make logical, visual, or emotional sense to you, it's complete nonsense and it exits your reality forever and it never comes back. That's the core. And so now the question becomes, what do I actually believe that's holding me back? What foundationally is causing my unique flavor of self-sabotage? And hip, hip, hooray, we get to find that out today. So here's another very, very interesting thing. If a belief actually for real, truly has no power over you whatsoever, you'll feel nothing when you speak it out loud. We call this nonsense. So here's an example of a belief that's nonsense. I am Elon Musk's 13th tail feather. When you speak that out loud, you probably just chuckle. When you say out loud, I am the world's smallest glass of water, you don't have an emotional response to that thought. However, this is something I call the sense test. When you speak the word of a belief out loud, and it does trigger automatic sensations and emotions and thoughts and images to flash into your experience, then you actually do believe it at either a conscious or a subconscious level. So the way you do this is you speak the words out loud. When you speak it, you invoke the emotional energy that's tied to it, and you notice, does this make sense? So that can show up as emotions, sad, mad, bad, glad, whatever. That can show up as sensations like, shit, when I say I can't trust myself, I feel like heat in my hands. That's so weird. What? That can show up as a sense of truth or agreement in your logical mind. Like, yeah, of course women aren't trustworthy. Duh. Or it can show up as a sense of rebellion. And so this is a little bit more tricky. This is the, that's not true, oh my God, type of energy that comes up. Some people, they say, I'm not good enough. And they go, I've already worked on that. I know that that's not true. And I go, okay, fair enough. Do you get defensive like that when you say, I am a bowl of ice cream? No. All right, well, then there's probably a part of you that's getting triggered by that. And there's another protector part of you that's coming online and saying, I don't believe that, so that we don't actually get to the root of the issue. So those are some phenomena that can occur in the mind, but it either is going to make logical sense or emotional sense at the end of the day when you say it. And so here's an invitation to actually try this and see it working for yourself. Stay on mute, and I want to invite you to speak some nonsense out loud. Go ahead and say out loud, I am a quaint rubber ducky. And I'm curious, in the chat, I saw a little heart flash up. That was fun. How does it feel to say that? You notice like indifference? Did you notice like humor? Did you notice whatever?
It was pretty hilarious.
Okay. Here's another one. We'll do 3 of them in total. How about I can't speak English? I can't speak English. I don't feel anything. It's just like nonsense. It's silly. And then one more. This is just a complete conceptual clash, logical contradiction. I am blue divided by yellow. These don't invoke any feelings. These don't invoke any sensations, right? And so now let's try speaking some very common limiting beliefs. And, heads up, it might cause some unpleasant sensations, but at least you'll know and understand what the name of the game is, what kind of beliefs you can let go of. Let's start with, I'm not enough. And you can say it in your head, but you'll be shortchanging yourself. The real point of the exercise is to say it out loud. I can't trust myself. And notice, does it trigger any sensation whatsoever? There's something wrong with me. I'm not worthy. I am unwanted. That was a big one for me. I discovered that actually in myself a year after learning how to let go of beliefs. So it's kind of interesting. It's an ongoing journey. Is anyone open to sharing in the chat? How did speaking some of those out make you feel? Frankie's got a big nothing. Oh, felt some tightness in my chest from one of them. Amazing. It's beautiful self-awareness. Anyone else? I am unwanted created a sense of breathless. Yeah, I call that a sensation. Really good awareness. Thank you, Joel. I can't trust myself used to feel like a fucking pounding in my chest for me. Yeah, nothing or something wrong with me made my head buzz. Yep. And isn't that fascinating? We have completely different physiological responses to saying these words. Interesting. And for a lot of people, they'll resonate with I'm not enough, and then they won't resonate with I'm not good enough. Or they'll resonate with both, but it'll be different feelings. Little tingle in my head. Yep. Beautiful self-awareness. Thank you, everyone, for having the courage to speak some words and notice if they make sense. So the question is always like, what beliefs actually feel real to us? This emotional energy is a signal that there's something under the surface, right? And so when we think about what beliefs are causing self-sabotage, there's a million different potential candidates. And I've done hundreds of these sessions, and these are some very, very common ones that cause a lot of headache in people's lives. And so, you can watch this presentation again later. You can comb through these. There's lists of these all over the internet. But some of the most foundational beliefs tie back to our self-worth. We have a sense that we don't deserve it, or that we're a fraud, or that we're not worthy, we're not enough. There's stuff that's tied to our sense of self-efficacy. Can we actually get shit done? No, I can't do it. I'm not capable. I'm not important. Who am I to do this? Who am I to be that great? I don't know enough. I'm not smart enough. In fact, I'm stupid. And then a huge, huge, huge component in people's effectiveness in life is their sense of trust and their sense of safety. So for some, it's I can't trust myself. For others, it's I can't trust people. I can't trust men. I can't trust women. For a lot of people, there's a sense, an underlying sense of I am not safe. And that follows them taking up space in their nervous system everywhere they go. And others, it's not a generalized sense of I am not safe, but it's not safe to be seen. It's not safe to be my true self. It's not safe to speak my truth. So the real question is, what do you believe at the core? These are all just trailheads. This is a scattershot approach. I'll give you a better tool to discover what's actually under the surface for you. And this is a group exercise. So I invite you to take out a pencil and paper or open up a little tab on your computer with some notes. And we're going to do something called sentence completions. So the idea of a sentence completion is you can see there's a few first halves or first parts of a sentence. My inner critic judges me as ... And what I invite you to try is just allow your subconscious, no filter, no censoring, no trying to get the right answer. Allow your subconscious to just spill out onto paper 6 to 12 spontaneous responses to that. My inner critic judges me as not good enough, stupid, lazy, blah, blah, blah. So try one or two of these different sentence stems. To self-sabotage, someone would have to believe deep down, ... If I fail, it means ... My inner critic judges me as ... Just pick whichever one of these three is resonating most for you, and then write down 6 to 12 responses. I'll go on mute for a minute. Let you take that time. Just let it flow. There's no need to make the answer right or wrong. As soon as it comes out, just on to the next one. You have 30 more seconds. All right, let's start wrapping up. And I want to invite, if you guys are open to it, to come off mute and let's have a little bit of a discussion about this. So Frankie, my man, what's good? Which sentence stem did you choose and what came up for you?
I use if I fail, it means that I don't care or that I didn't want to do it. That I'm not smart enough, that I'm lazy, that I'm not trying hard enough, that I'm lying to myself.
Textbook perfect. Yeah, that's those answers all make a lot of sense. And so are you open to doing a little bit of one-on-one exploration, trying out the sense test with me?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So, Frankie, I'm curious, what happens if you say the words out loud, I am laissez-faire?
I am laissez-faire.
Nothing. Okay. What about I am Lupa Zupa?
I am Lupa Zupa. I mean, it's funny.
It's like a slightly amused thing. What happens if you say I am lazy?
I am lazy. I feel like a in my chest, going across my chest. I feel some, like it's like a vibration almost.
Yeah, there's like some energy moving across the chest with that.
Yeah.
So that's what lazy feels like. What happens when we shift the language to I don't try hard enough?
I don't try hard enough. Mm. I feel that more in my back.
Is there any emotional quality to that sensation? Or is it just purely like a tingling sensation?
Like a tightness in my back. Like
Yeah. And that's powerful. That's powerful awareness. It's really beautiful that you have awareness and the ability to describe what the sensation is and where it's happening in your body. That's a blessing.
thank you.
Frankie, do you have any sense of where those beliefs might have come from?
Um, I believe that it was through life. Like anytime I failed in things and disappointed people, I know it came from myself, but I know now that that's where it came from. Um, but I would just see how many people in my life that would be hurt or seemed hurt to me, and a lot of that. That's what I would tell myself.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you end on the note of like that's what I would tell myself. Because ultimately that is one very frequent source of where it comes from. I'm lazy, and that came from my dad. And so beliefs can be either self-created or they can be forced upon us by our environment of other people telling us who we are.
Mm.
And again, there's no right or wrong. I'm curious, do you think that those beliefs might have served a positive purpose in any way in your life?
I mean, I do believe it helped me. It helped push me a little bit. I mean, when I was in the military, through high school, I did a lot of different sports, and I would a lot of the things I would do myself because there was things that my parents would tell me or things that family members or friends, and so I would just do things myself because I didn't I didn't believe that anyone believed in me. So I would just prove to myself, like I would just do these things myself.
It created a sense of motivation.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting principle that when we create beliefs through fear, they tend to drive us towards something, right? Or rather, a better way to think about it is that they drive us away from something. And so these fear-based beliefs, I'm not good enough, is designed to move us away from being not good enough towards being good enough. I am lazy is designed to move us away from being lazy to being productive. So it's just interesting how our psyche works like that.
Yeah. Makes
I
sense.
really appreciate you sharing part of your story with us, Frankie.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Anyone else open to sharing some responses either in the chat or what was coming up for y'all? when you were doing the sentence completions.
It never fails to amaze me how these little creepy, sneaky things are there. So the one I picked was my inner critic judges me as,
Mhm.
and I do a lot of self work. So it's anyways.
Yeah.
What came up still was careless, unorganized, too busy, can't handle it. You're not doing a good job.
Not doing a good job. That's, yeah, it's, first of all, like, thank you for sharing that. And I have been doing this work on myself now for going on 2 years, and it wasn't until last November that I discovered I am not wanted. And I was like, holy that's been showing up in my relationships my whole life. OMG. And so it's really wonderful that, like, life is an always evolving process. And doing this kind of work, you really can find the core of the core that's, like, getting in the way of this life chapter. And then once you transcend that, you'll be ready for the next layer. Right?
Exactly.
So,
But yeah, it's definitely a test of self-exploration and courage,
Hmm.
to be honest and know that whatever does come up it's not true, right? And you can mine through where that came from.
Yeah, fundamentally. So this is the point in the presentation where we switch to doing a live demonstration. And I wonder if anyone here is open to letting go of some of their core beliefs today. I see Frankie raising hand. Awesome, man. I'd be so honored to help. So, Frank, first, I just want to check in. Do you feel comfortable with this conversation being recorded and put up on YouTube, knowing that you can preserve details about your experience to whatever degree that you feel comfortable?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, and a lot of people are going to heal from watching it. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Do you go by Frank or Frankie? You have a preference?
Frankie's fine.
Cool, man. All right, brother. Do you have any sense of where you would like to focus?
When you said not wanted, it really, I started thinking, and then I felt that tightness even stronger in my chest, and I think that's something that I was not really focused on in here. And when you said it, it really came up to me a lot. And I think a lot of the stuff that I do is because I feel like I lie to myself because I feel like I'm not going to be wanted or I'm not going to be accepted. So I think that would be a place that I think is really driving a lot of my beliefs.
I see. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Well, I want to begin with a sense test so that we can get a baseline for how this feels. And at the end of this process, it's going to feel like nonsense and it's just not going to be true for you anymore. So, Frankie, what happens if you say the words out loud? I am not Willy Wonka.
I am not Willy Wonka. It's a good movie. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What about I am not Guantanamo Bay?
I am not Guantanamo Bay. It's made me think about Guantanamo Bay.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. So, from a place of just neutral curiosity, Frankie, what happens when you say, I am not wanted?
I am not wanted. I feel like a sadness. I really feel like from my head down to my chest, like it starts tingle and then tight into my chest. And just a big amount of sadness.
Yeah, so pretty strong sadness, some tightness in the chest, and a tingle that goes from the head all the way down to the chest. Is that right?
Yes.
So thank you for that. And you can breathe deep and check yourself out if that feels good. And so that's what not wanted feels like. What happens when we shift the language to I am not accepted?
I'm not accepted. Feel like a tightness in my stomach, like similar sadness, but tightness in my stomach, and yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. Okay. So just notice different words, different sensations in different locations. And to me, this signals that these are two separate beliefs and we can clear both of them. But first, I want to check in with you. As part of my practice, I really, truly respect individual sovereignty. You create your reality, and it's your perfect birthright to believe whatever you want to believe. And so the question becomes, are these beliefs something you would like to keep or something you'd like to let go of?
Something I definitely want to let go of.
Okay. Then the question becomes, is there any part of you that's not ready to let go of them for any reason? And really just search within yourself, Frankie.
Um, Nothing.
Cool. All right. Where do you think you might have first learned early experiences? I am not wanted.
I think it was when my dad retired. We moved to Florida. I was always left by myself, home, or I would always just be home by myself, or everyone was always doing their own thing, and I never knew what was going on, so I would just be there.
It's totally understandable. Is there anything else, early formative experiences besides I was often left by myself and I didn't know where people were?
I think the first time I was left at a store, when my mom left, it was me, my brother, my sister, and my mom, and I was left at the store, and I didn't know where anyone was, and that was probably my first big experience, and I think I was probably like 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah. And I'm not too sure how far the culture has shifted around experiences like these, but I want to vocalize something, which is that to a child, that's a really fucking difficult experience. And it's perfectly valid for that child to feel terror, to feel feelings, and then come up with a conclusion like, oh my God, this means I'm not wanted. Just trying to make sense of what was happening. So I want to offer that child some compassion, that it did nothing wrong. But let's look closely at that memory. When you were 5 or 6 years old, and you were at a store with your mom, your sister, and your brother, and then they left, you didn't know where everyone was. Did you see anywhere in the picture, I am not wanted? or did you see people in a grocery store?
Just I saw people in the store. Yeah, I saw people in the store, and but it was anyone that I knew.
And did you eventually see your family again?
I did.
So for that experience, what story rings more true? I'm not wanted, or when I was 5 or 6 years old, my family took me to a grocery store. They left without me. For a period of time, I didn't know where they were. Then they came back and we were reunited.
Yeah, yeah, that's more true. Yeah, actually, even just hearing it, I can feel like a release in my chest.
Yeah. Child stops believing when they see the truth. So thank you. Let's take a look at when your dad retired, moved to Florida. When you look around in your childhood home, did you see I am not wanted? Or did you see your home without adults in it?
Yeah, it was my homework without adults. Yeah, no, um,
Thank God. Yeah, it's like, oh shit.
it is. It's exactly what I was thinking. Oh shit! It was just.
Yeah. Yeah. And like just breathe into the levity and breathe into the lightness of that awareness. That holy shit, I didn't see that I'm not wanted. I saw my home without adults in it.
Wow. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And while we're looking around, did you see I'm not accepted in either of those experiences?
Now, now that I look at it in that way, no. Yeah. Now
Huh.
that I see what it was actually seen, and not what I was creating, not the belief that I created and attached to that feeling. Wow.
And so the question becomes, Frankie, at any point in your entire life, did you ever truly see I am not wanted?
No, no.
I appreciate that you're really looking.
Yeah.
And I'll just ask to be sure. Like, are you sure?
I think about everything that I've done, and I see all these like different points in my life, like, and, and none of them say that I wasn't wanted or I wasn't accepted.
Nice. Yeah. So you already looked for not accepted too. Couldn't
Yeah.
find it.
I'm like,
Jeez.
that's wild.
Right. Right.
That's so wild.
I didn't know for the longest time that when they said the truth will set you free, that they were actually right. So what are you feeling right now, Frankie? For those who are watching, it seems like some just like realizations, some energy moving.
a lot, a lot of joy. Um, Realization that um, there was a lot of lies that I was telling myself and that I believed. Um, and there was a lot of truth in what I went back and a lot of happiness that I didn't want to see.
Mm. And that's one of the most profoundly beautiful, beautiful parts of shifting a belief, is that it doesn't just shift it in those experiences, it shifts it across our entire lifetime. And so suddenly we can see more happiness. We can see the love that was right in front of us that we couldn't see before. This is what the Toltecs knew 2,000 years ago.
The lens. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So now, Frankie, I want to check what happens when you say the words out loud. I am unswivel top.
I am on Swivel Pop.
I am a psychedelic coaster.
I am a psychedelic coaster.
What happens when you say I am unwanted?
I am unwanted. Nothing. I don't feel that. I don't feel that same tightness. I don't feel that same tightness at all.
Lovely, man. Thank you. Thank you for showing the world how fucking simple it can be to let that powerful story go.
Wow. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My honor, my life purpose. I feel blissed out. Well, I wonder if there might be another volunteer who is open to some love and letting stuff go. I see Amy's off mute. Not sure how long you've been with us, or if maybe you just joined at the tail end.
Oh, hi. I just joined. I'm feeling a little nervous to share.
Oh, that's
But
okay.
lately I've been feeling a more unconditional love for myself and other people.
That's really beautiful, Amy. And yeah, you don't have to share if you feel uncomfortable. And I heard your little kitty cat in the background, and yeah, you just pet the kitty cat. Like,
I'll go. I have the biggest limiting belief that's been holding me back is just being around other people, letting other people in, letting other people see me, or not knowing how to be around people.
Amy, do you by
It's like,
chance live in Austin, Texas? Not sure where you might be calling from.
oh, I live in Cedar Park.
Okay, cool. What I would like to offer you, Amy, is that I'd be more than happy to gift you some of my time outside of the context of this workshop to unpack that with you. I do a lot of pro bono work, and I would love to help.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me. I've done a lot of therapy, but I haven't really delved into that part of that part of my development yet. So
I understand.
I don't, I'm kind of feeling called to that it's time. I don't know.
Beautiful. Well,
Okay.
what's amazing, Amy, is that like because you're showing up, you've automatically created the circumstance for yourself that you get to experience this kind of healing. And so I think that your courage demonstrates a really beautiful principle, which is that when the student is ready, the teacher will come, or when you're finally ready to make the decision to let the thing go, and you make that decision for yourself, the universe provides you the resources and provides you the support that you need in order to make that happen. So yeah, I just really want to thank you and respect you for being here.
Thank you, Gladius. I really appreciate all that you do and extending the offer of counseling. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I live on Lake Travis, so I'm not far from Cedar Park. So it's
Oh,
pretty convenient.
okay.
All right. I'll follow up with you after this. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
All right. Sheila, I saw you go off of mute.
Yes. Yes, I have one.
What's that?
One of my critic judgments is due to my long marriage with a very toxic man. I always felt that I couldn't protect myself and I couldn't protect you.
Mm-hmm.
And that has haunted me for 30 years. And when I say it, it hurts my heart. It hurts my stomach. It causes tension in my shoulders. And it's pretty brutal.
Thank you. And full disclosure, folks, Sheila Runlet is my mom. And Mom, if you're open to it, I would absolutely love and be honored to help you let that go today.
I would love that.
Great. Okay, heaven, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it kind of like two things that are very similar? Like I can't protect myself and then I can't protect my son.
It is.
Okay,
But
great.
it was more brutal that I couldn't protect my son.
That makes sense. And I'm gonna propose that we start with can't protect myself
Okay.
first and then move into my son. So I want to double check.
Yep.
Is that a belief that you'd like to keep or let go of?
Oh, I want to let go of that.
Heaven, yes, so it is. All right.
Yes.
Is there any part of you that might not be totally ready to let that go for any reason?
There is. It's because I feel like I still can't protect you or myself from your father right now. But I need to let that go because it's taking my joy away. And I need to find my joy.
Can we welcome this part into the conversation with some love and some curiosity?
Sure.
And can I talk to it and try to better understand it?
Of course.
All right, thank you. So part, I gather that it still feels like I can't protect myself from Jeff or Dad. And I would imagine that you have a sincere, positive intention at some level to keep Sheila safe. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Can you help me understand why it's important that she hold on to a belief called I can't protect myself if our goal is to create a sense of safety?
My belief, which is illogical, is that he comes over at random times and causes drama and trauma, and that makes me feel unsafe.
And the ideal would be that you feel safe throughout the experience, you stand up for yourself, and that pattern of behavior stops. Something like that is the ideal, right?
That would be the ideal, yes.
So one way to create that ideal outcome where Sheila feels totally safe, the drama and the trauma stop occurring. One way to create that reality is to believe that I can't protect myself. But can you see that if Sheila truly believes that she can't protect herself, that what that's ultimately going to do is disempower her, make her feel unsafe, and then cause her not to stand up to her abusive ex-husband?
And that's exactly what I'm doing.
So is this part open to you feeling more power and more safety?
Oh, yes.
Is this
That's why I'm on here, Nick.
Awesome. Is this part of you open to the possibility that if you were to let go of I can't protect myself, that you might actually start being able to protect yourself and feeling safe and in your power?
Yes.
So knowing that, is this part open to letting go of I can't protect myself?
Yeah. Sorry. That's Molly.
That was a timely dog growl.
Yeah, they're fighting over a bone. Let me just move it.
Okay.
Let me just move it. There it is. All right.
Lovely.
There we go.
And let's just take a moment and send some appreciation to this part that had a sincere positive intent to keep you safe, and now it's on board, and just thank you. So.
And now I'm bouncing up and down because Buddy's scratching.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. So now the question becomes, what were some of the early formative experiences? And for you, knowing a bit about your story, I would point back to high school, at least. Maybe there's stuff sooner, childhood with your brother. When did you first start seeing I can't protect myself?
Well, my brother was a pathological liar, and he was always mean-spirited to me. He would throw tantrum after tantrum that would last for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour over nothing. So it was constant trauma and drama. And he would lie about me. He would tell my parents lies in the hopes of making them, feel disgust towards me. And it was just a bunch of bullshit.
I see. Thank you. Let's look at that pattern of experiences very closely with a compassionate lens.
Okay.
When your brother was throwing tantrums,
Mm-hmm.
did you see your brother throwing tantrums?
Oh, yes.
So you saw him behaving, and
Yes.
we describe that behavior as throwing a tantrum because he was presumably screaming and yelling and swearing and moving things and breaking things and all kinds of stuff, right?
Correct.
If you look closely at those memories, do you see anywhere in the picture I can't protect myself? Or do you see your brother throwing a tantrum?
I couldn't protect myself because he would attack me.
Right.
So oftentimes I would have to barricade myself in my room. And
here,
he'd kick the door and bash the door and try to push the door in. And
thank you. When you barricaded yourself in your room, was that an effort to protect yourself?
oh, yes.
When you saw yourself barricaded in your room, did you see, I can't protect myself? Or did you see yourself making an effort to protect yourself?
I was protecting myself at that point. Yes.
Okay, cool. And when you saw him hitting and heard him hitting the door and yelling and stuff, did you literally see, in the same way that you can see this computer mouse, I can't protect myself? Or did you see Mike banging on the door, yelling and hitting?
I saw him banging on the door, hitting, and I was protecting myself.
Okay, good.
Pardon the fan, but I'm having a hot flash.
That's perfectly okay. Totally welcome that. Then the question becomes, even when you weren't barricaded in your door, or in your room rather, and he was tantruming about, and he was yelling at you, and he was presumably, tickling you, effing with you in whatever ways that he did, right?
hmm
If you look really closely, do you see anywhere I can't protect myself, or do you see your brother doing shit?
I see my brother losing his shit.
Ah, okay. That's better. I accept that. Then the question becomes, in the entirety of your relationship with your brother, at any point in your experience with him, did you see, I can't protect myself?
No, because I just started to realize that he's kind of crazy, and it's not me, it's him. So his actions are his actions, and they don't have anything to do with me. He could have, you could transplant me with 100 other sisters and he would behave the same way.
That's right. That's right. So then beyond that, I recall some stories you've shared with me over the years about guys in high school. And you don't have to share the story if you don't feel comfortable or don't want to. But the question remains, in those situations, did you actually see, I can't protect myself?
You're talking about 8th grade when the 4 bullies were sexually harassing the crap out of me?
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad came home and taught me how to fight, and I fought.
And in those moments when you were fighting, were you protecting yourself?
Yeah, but I was lucky because the big boss of them really liked me, so they wouldn't fight back. So I was the one doing all the injury to them, and they were the ones doing all the grabbing at me. But yeah, I fought.
Mm-hmm. So then at any point in that whole series of experiences, did you actually see with your own 2 eyes, I can't protect myself?
No, I protected the hell out of myself.
Heaven, yes. Okay. Love that. Now let's look at your relationship with Jeff.
Okay.
Go ahead and scan through Any memories that stand out to you? The question remains, as always, did you truly see with your own two eyes, I can't protect myself?
In a sense, yes, because it was never ending. It wasn't like once a day that he would, verbally attack. It would be 20, 30, 50 times a day. So it was never ending. It would be like somebody just coming by and poking you with a needle every time they were in your presence.
Hmm.
And that's how I felt. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. And that's probably how you felt too.
I totally see and I totally get that that experience was extremely difficult and it felt like a death by 1,000 paper cuts for you. What story is more true? I can't protect myself, or I married a man who chose to insult me and attack me verbally, psychologically, multiple times a day, almost 7 days a week for 30 years.
The second.
Were there times that you raised your voice, stood your ground, told him to fuck off, and actually protected yourself?
Well, we had the rule of no cussing at each other, but
I
I
don't
did.
recall. Go on.
It was a rule. It wasn't always enforced.
Okay, yeah, yeah, exactly.
But I stood my ground 100,000 times.
Yeah. In those moments when you were standing your ground, did you see I can't protect myself?
No, I saw that I should not have to protect myself. This is a person I should trust, and there's no way you can trust him.
Yeah, it's like it shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't have to do this kind of thing, right?
Correct. No one should.
Yeah, not with their spouse. So, okay, Mom. The question then becomes, did you see I can't protect myself, or did you see Jeff yelling and screaming thousands of times?
You know what I really saw is I can't stop this man from his behavior that is absolutely toxic. And I think I transmuted that into, because I can't stop him, I can't protect myself. But in
Ah,
truth, I was always protecting myself, which is probably why I'm not crazy right now.
yeah. That's a good way to see it. It's a very, very different thing to say, I can't stop this man's toxic behavior from resurfacing versus I can't protect myself.
Yeah.
One's a lot more close to the truth.
Yeah.
So I'll ask again, did you ever see I can't protect myself?
No, I saw that I didn't want to have to protect myself. It wasn't fair that I had to constantly protect you and protect me from who was supposed to be the leader of our family.
I hear that. Thank you. So now tune into your body, Sheila. Is there any emotion or sensation that's tied to I can't protect myself?
Anger.
Where do you feel that anger?
I feel it in my forearms. They're tingly because it was unjust.
So feel into this tingly anger in the forearms and let me know when you're fully present with it.
I got it.
And the question becomes, if there was a little girl who was walking down the street one day and she was sucking on a lollipop and then she dropped her lollipop in the mud and she was like, oh, and for a moment she felt tingly anger in her forearms. And then she reached into her pocket, pulled out another lollipop, and went about her day and had a great life. Does that mean that she can't protect herself always and forever?
Your metaphor doesn't quite make any sense to me.
That's the point.
Okay.
The point is, does feeling that sensation in your forearms mean I can't protect myself?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, okay. And does that feel untied for you?
Yeah.
Great. Go mom.
Go son.
Oh, this is wonderful. Okay. So then the question becomes, is there any other feeling, any other sensation that's still tied to I can't protect myself?
There's the sensation that I felt that I couldn't protect you
Uh-huh.
and you were treated horribly and unfairly, and there was just no way to stop him from going after you.
And
And you went through it daily, undeserved. Because it wasn't you. He could have transplanted 1,000 different children and he would have treated them all the same. So it was never you. You were a wonderful child. I mean, you never gave us any problem. You were smart. You were kind-hearted. You always cared. You had great amounts of empathy. And you were a little, you used to sell candy bars to make money. Who would have thought that someone so young would come up with all these business ideas? And yet he couldn't be proud of you.
so mom, I really so appreciate the love and the praise, and I've now started to see what mama bear energy looks like in not just you, but like other adult women since living on my own and stuff. And it's like, I get why it was really, really important to have this belief. I can't protect Nick. I can't protect my son. Because that's what drove you to take action to stop a crazy man from verbally and psychologically assaulting your son.
Mm-hmm.
Is Jeff still living 50 feet away from me and attacking me on a daily basis?
No, but when you talk to him, he lies to you. So he's still manipulating with lies and being toxic.
And if someone lies to me, I see right through it very easily.
Yes, I believe that you do.
And so that's not a threat and that's not a danger to me, particularly with him, since I have a data set of 10,000 interactions to be able to detect. So to the part of you that created that belief, is it open to the possibility that you have a really emotionally intelligent, smart, discerning son that can protect himself now?
Yes, now you can. But when you were younger, you believed the bullshit that he constantly gave you. And I would have to try to teach you that it was bullshit.
That's right. But for the purpose of being ready and willing to let it go, knowing that the past is not happening right now,
That's tough.
right?
Yeah, that's very tough because I feel a lot of anger towards what he did to you.
I get that. I hear that. What does this part of you need in order to be able to fully let that go? That sense of I can't protect Nick.
I recognize that you no longer need my protection. I recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living in the past, and I recognize that. And I don't know what I need.
Can we talk to the part of you that is holding on to that? Try to understand it.
Sure. Buddy, will you get out of my face? You're not going to the bathroom right now. Lay down and go to sleep. I'll take you when we're done.
So, to this part, buddy's photobombing you.
Yeah. It's got to be part of it too.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. To this part of you, I'd say thank you. Thank you for fulfilling an extremely, extremely important duty in keeping me safe for so many years.
Okay, right there, when you just said that, I just got a ton of guilt because I didn't keep you safe.
Well, it depends on how you look at it, truly. You could say,
You were emotionally scarred from it.
and I chose to heal, and here I am, and
Yeah.
now I'm in a position where I help others heal.
And I am absolutely proud of you.
Thank you. But to this part that feels this guilt around all this, is it open to the possibility that things couldn't have gone any differently than exactly how they did? Based on where you were at, based on where he was at, based on where I was at, the emotions that course through us every day, the decisions that we made.
Now I just feel pissed. No, I
Well,
do, because what if I was stronger?
what if you were a bodybuilder, Mom?
What if I
What
thought more? That wouldn't have done me any good. He would have just amped up the, yeah, there was nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing.
It certainly wasn't a game that was designed to be winnable if the definition of winning is my son experiences no abuse and a perfect childhood. That wasn't going to happen with that man.
No.
So could it be possible that you took a fuck ton of effort towards minimizing the damage over many years?
Yes.
Is this part open to letting me protect myself now?
You've been protecting yourself since you left.
Yeah.
I was so proud of you when you finally left.
Is this part that is holding on to the sense that I can't protect Nick, is it open to letting that go?
No. I can protect you as a child. I don't feel that as an adult, but I have the guilt of I couldn't protect you as a child, even though I interceded and took the abuse that dad was going to give you hundreds and hundreds of times.
Mhm.
It's still so deeply ingrained in me.
Does holding onto that guilt and experiencing that guilt change what I experienced as a child?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that guilt necessary to protect me as a child today?
Nope.
Would this part like to not feel that guilt?
Yep.
Can this part see that if it lets go of this belief, that it can let go of that guilt and that it actually is safe to do that because I'm not a child?
Still wants to hold on to it.
Is it open to sharing why?
Maybe because it was just so traumatic for me
Hmm.
that it's odd. I feel like there's a part of you that I have to, part of your childness that I have to hold close and still protect
Mhm.
because you're so precious to me that if I don't keep you safe in my mind when you were a child, then what might happen to you? And nothing's going to happen to you. It's a stupid idea.
But it sounds like what's happening is that there's a thing in your psyche, in your mind called Nick as a child.
Nick as a child, yeah.
And this part really, really cares about protecting Nick as a child.
Yes.
And it wants Nick as a child to be safe no matter what.
Correct.
So
And if I burst the bubble, the stupid imaginary bubble, what will happen to Nick? Well, nothing will happen to Nick. It's my belief that I have to hold on to this protection bubble,
so
and
let
it's
me
just stupid.
let me speak to that part directly and say one way to protect Nick as a child is to believe that you cannot protect him. That's one way to keep something safe, is to believe that you cannot protect it. But can you see that believing that you can't protect Nick as a child might actually interfere with your ability to protect Nick as a child?
I didn't even understand what you just said.
Okay, all good.
Rephrase that.
To this part, let's use like a metaphor. Let's say you want to move a box onto a shelf.
Okay.
One way to move a box onto a shelf is to believe that box is too heavy. I can't move the box. That's one way to do it. It doesn't really make sense. It kind of produces the exact opposite of what you want. If you believe that you can't move the box, then you're never going to move the box onto the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
One way to protect your child is to believe that you can't. But that kind of defeats itself, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
does believing that you can't protect your child actually protect your child?
No.
Oh, okay. If that doesn't do that, would this part like for that child to feel safe?
Yes.
Ultimately, yeah, like that's what it wants, right? It just wants that
Mhm.
child to feel safe. Can that part hear me when I
Yeah.
say very sincerely, my inner child feels safe? My inner child doesn't need you to feel this guilt and pain in order to keep me safe.
I hear that. And thank you.
Thank you. I feel safe. And I love you.
Uh-oh. I got low battery.
It's okay.
To plug you in. All right, but I think you need to go on now to other people.
Mom,
And-
we're not
and-
done yet.
Well, people might be getting bored. We can finish this
It's-
tomorrow, son.
Well, I appreciate your offer. Personally, it would feel really good to me to finish a process. I've actually never, out of all 220, like stopped halfway through.
Okay. All right, as long as it's not boring everyone else. I cannot find the plug.
Gale Force says, we're here for this conversation. Love. Frankie says, beautiful. This speaks to the power of this process. So there's definitely support coming through. We honor you,
Plugged in.
Sheila, from Nancy. So,
As long as you're not bored.
oh, not at all. I love you so much, Mom. So now, sincerely, does it feel okay to let go of I can't protect Nick?
Yeah,
Heaven, yes. So,
because you don't need protecting.
yeah,
And
you did it.
Yeah. I did a good enough job that you became a wonderful human.
You made it to the end, which means you're just beginning. Congratulations. I want to leave you with a message and a call to action. You have the power to do everything that I just did. The people that I helped were actually healing themselves. All I did was ask them questions that guided their attention into the right places. That means if you choose, you can free yourself from the core limiting beliefs that have held you in the greatest suffering you've ever known for your entire life. And it's simple. And it's fast. The question becomes, will you choose to do that? If the answer is no, God bless you with the greatest self-awareness and self-empowerment that you've ever known. God bless you. If the answer is yes, send me an email, gladius@sovereignmind.org, with the subject line, love.